joining the Empire State Pride agenda on this wonderful annual dinner. The arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. Those words spoken by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King probably have no greater meaning than they would at this dinner in this particular year. Last year, as we celebrated Pride here at this dinner, you could not hold back the confidence, the adulation, and the enthusiasm that all of us felt, because at the time we thought we were weeks before passage of marriage equality into law in the state of New York. That did not work out. But 11 days later, the chagrin and the disappointment was somewhat tempered when the governor of the state of New York issued an executive order banning discrimination based on gender or expression here in New York State. I was serving as governor at the time, that's why I brought it up. Unfortunately, as we moved into 2010, the number of attacks on people based on their sexuality or sexual expression unfortunately increased in this state, culminating with one of the most savage attacks on 3 gay men in the Bronx just 1 week ago. And as tragic as those attacks were, it was even more unsettling that the Republican candidate for governor, his lips dripping with the words of homophobia and hypocrisy, didn't say a word about that attack for 50 hours until confronted by the media. But this was not surprising, coming from a man who just a week before was in the media every day after a young Rutgers student took his own life after being bullied and harassed and streamed on the internet, and not a word from that campaign or candidate during that particular time. But even as we mull through the fog of his confusion, we suddenly were stunned by the epic ruling of Federal District Court Judge Virginia Phillips. The use of don't ask, don't tell worldwide. I wish I could do anything worldwide. And even though the Justice Department is appealing and legal scholars challenge her decision, she has placed squarely on the table the issue of gay and lesbian, bisexual, and transgender people who serve us fighting for our freedoms in foreign service and can't get them in the service or even when they come back home. And so as we move through this continued battle, as we move toward justice, we are aware that just in the past few weeks, in addition to the unfortunate incident that occurred involving Tyler Clementi, that another New York student, unfortunately, who hailed from Monticello, New York, took his own life while at Johnson & Wales College in the state of Connecticut, and Raymond Chase lost his life. In addition, there was the suicide of Billy Lucas in the state of Indiana, and that of Justin Hebert in California. 2 13-year-olds, one named Seth Walsh from the state of Minnesota, and also Asher Brown from the state of Texas. Even as we mourn their losses, there was an attack on a 14-year-old gay student in Long Island today. Fortunately, the perpetrators were apprehended, but it informs us as we celebrate this great event that there's a lot more to do. A lot more about bullying, a lot more about the way students are treated in our society. But fortunately, just within the past month, we have signed a bill allowing dignity for all students in New York State. And when I think about all the people who supported that bill, speakers that you had here this evening, like Mayor Bloomberg, like Chuck Schumer, who we await, the keynote speaker, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and the Attorney General and next Governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo. And one speaker who wanted to be here this evening but was unable to attend. He has been a fighter for LGBT issues. He's been a fighter for those issues since the beginning of his public service career, and he is the controller of the state of New York, Tom DiNapoli. Now, the controller couldn't be here this evening, but I did communicate with him, and I want you to know something you may not be aware of, that companies that do not allow there to be rights for LGBT employees are being brought to the table as the controller of the state of New York, Tom DiNapoli, is leveraging our investment funds, leveraging our pension funds to make those companies do the right thing. But as we fought to restore dignity for students, to all students in the state of New York, the steadfast discipline, criticism, and honesty, the advocacy and dedication, and all of the sweat and tears that went into passing that law could be summed up in two words: Ross Levi. For the last 10 years, from the passage of hate crimes to the implementation of the Sexual Orientation Non-Discrimination Act, to the fight for marriage equality, to every social issue that has confronted the LGBT and Q community, Ross Levi has been right in the epicenter of that struggle. And so I want to present to him this evening the official Penn certificate. You didn't really think this was my speech, did you? The official Penn certificate from that piece of legislation. Ross, if you would come up and accept it on behalf of the Empire State Pride.